Post the table read, I will do a walkthrough of the surgical scenes and the ER scenes with our medical technical advisor, Linda Klein.
I come from the medical field. I've worked in surgery for over 30 years. They hired me to pretty much portray medicine the best way I can.
Me not being a medical person, you know, I need direction. She will say the person should be on the right side of the operating room table as opposed to the left side. When George says sinus tack, he's taking that off the monitor, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so
That's over there.
That's for this guy's here.
Yeah.
She's got to bring the reality to a scene, you know, because she does work in medicine, and sometimes she's like, there's no way that this is going to happen. You have to do it this way.
She's gonna hand them to him. He takes them, and then he goes. Yeah.
She's always paying attention to the medical and the accuracy and keeping everything right. And Rob's job is to pay attention to the visual.
Rob sets the shot up, and then Linda tells him it's wrong.
So Linda.
What are you picking this up?
Bang, doors.
He's 22, he's in the driver's seat, his car got crushed by a semi.
David Simmons, 22-year-old in his driver's seat who sustained chest contusions. A couple of they'll do it much better than me. Alex.
What are the injuries?
He got crushed by a semi.
No, you can't go in yet.
Why not?
Because you have to wait for them to say, take him to Bay 1 until we get trauma room.
In the 100th episode, when all the students from the bus crash came in, that was difficult because they were all flat on their backs with their heads connected to a board that they were laying on the gurney. And yet they were all communicating with each other and they couldn't see each other. So I had to sort of come up with a plan of how they each knew the other person was there. And it all came with the timing of who said what when. When the first young man came in, it wasn't so important for where he was, other than to have him close to where the second person was coming in, and she could hear what he was saying. So I positioned them next to each other. Then the third person came in, he overheard the young girl speaking as he was being wheeled in.
Jordan!
Becca? Becca, have you seen Dana? You were sitting next to her.
In order to accomplish all of that, Linda and I, when we walked it, came up with ideas of how to change the dialogue so we would be able to have each character hear the other person in the appropriate place. The paramedic who was there with us, we have actual paramedics, he said, well, we can spin his gurney right as he comes in. So he came in one direction, they spun him around 180 degrees, and he went the rest of the way head first. That just added to the energy and the excitement of the scene to see this character just get like flipped all around, and it gave a sort of a dizzy feeling to the audience.
And the doors open, music starts, we look back.
Planning the wedding was a lot like planning a wedding. We had meetings where we sat down and everybody looked at me and said, like, what do you want it to look like?
When we received the script, one of Meredith's lines was, it's churchy church.
Just a normal day that ends in a ceremony in a churchy church.
And it occurred to me that it was more than a chapel. The church was the big, big set piece for the 100th episode. Our production designer, Donald Harris, myself, and the set decorator, we would all go and look at all these churches. We looked at over 100 churches to make sure that we had one that not only was visually interesting, but production friendly. We knew that we had only 2 days to do what we needed to do in the church, so we were trying to find something that Herb Davis, our cameraman, would be able to light efficiently and effectively in those 2 days. So from the production sense, having the second floor balcony just saved us in terms of him being able to light quickly.
When we finally found the right church, I went there to see it being filmed, and I thought, yeah, you know what, he's right. This is the right church. This is what Izzy would pick to sort of have as her fairy tale wedding.
It's kind of nice to get out of the hospital, because we're here a lot. We're in a little bubble here over at Prospect Studios. But yeah, they used a church for the wedding scene, and the way they pull it together, I'm always surprised at how quickly they can do it.
When I came in and saw it for the first time, I mean, it looks like an outdoor gazebo that's inside, and just beautiful. I mean, they just have such a keen eye for doing what they do and doing it so well.
We had to have the church completely dressed for the wedding mode, and then for the beginning of the show, completely undressed for Meredith and Derek. And we chose to do the dressed version first, so the whole wedding, and then as we shot different shots, we would take things away.
These things that you look at and you say, these are not easy things to do, and somehow or another, they create little miracles every single episode.
Shonda had written in the script, and she actually put an apology in the screen direction to the crew that it was covered, the church was filled with 1,000 candles, and she wrote, "Sorry to the crew that's going to have to light these." And every time we set up a camera, candles came in behind people. We just had to make sure they were all there because it was so important to Shonda. The cameraman, Herb Davis, I will just have the germination of an idea of what I'd like to do, and he will take it beyond even what I imagined and make it that much better.
The way that Herb Davis lights us, I mean, if you see that room, I totally feel like I hope that I'm going to be lit like this for the rest of my life.
It amazes me to see the workings behind the camera, and what these people do to give the show the look that it has, the Grey's Anatomy look.
Normally, for an episode of Grey's Anatomy, our costume department is pretty straightforward. It's either scrubs or going home or coming to work clothes. When we were told there was going to be a wedding, Mimi Melgard, our costume designer, first the top of her head exploded, and then she got to work.
Oh my God. Have you ever thought about actually walking into a wedding and picking a piece of clothing for every single person in a church?
This is our latest 100th episode wedding gear that we have here. It's not just a little scrub show. We have thousands and thousands of items of clothing.
Because everyone is not in their scrubs, this is completely different. Everyone's hair, makeup is different. You know, it's a wedding. Each of us have a dress on, a suit on.
We have a wonderful team that scurried everywhere all over town.
Our costume department literally chose every single piece, had to do bridesmaids' dresses, had to do the wedding dresses.
This is not my dress.
Of course it's your dress. It's perfect. What are you talking about?
Oh, this dress is not for me.
What?
We needed to have the absolute right, most magical dress. And it had to be a dress that looked good on both Ellen, Meredith, and Katie Heigl, Izzy.
We had about 4 days notice that we needed to get a dress on both of them. So we were panicked. Then I probably had 2 racks of dresses for all the girls to try on.
Katie came up and tried on every last dress, and Ellen came up and tried on every last dress. And it was about finding the dress that looked sort of the most amazing on both people. And, you know, they're both beautiful and they both wear clothes really well, but they're 2 different people, so you want a dress that's sort of magical on both. And I think we found it.
I think my favorite part of this dress is the beading here and the beautiful, delicate beading on the bottom. So in the church with the lights, it almost looked like snowflakes in a weird way. It was so subtle and very sparkly in the right way.
Editorially, on the 100th episode, it was very special for me because Susan Vale was the editor. Susan is one of the handful of people that have been on Grey's Anatomy for all 100 episodes. When I'm shooting, I will, during a lighting setup, when I'm not needed on the set, our editorial bays are upstairs from our stages. So I will run upstairs, and Susan, I'll run into the room and say, "What do you have?" And she'll show me what I had done the day before.
One great thing about the Avids that we work on is that we can do multiple versions. We can try so many different things.
It is a bit like a Rubik's Cube. There's hundreds of different ways to interpret the footage that she's given, and different angles and different choices of performances.
We have the most amazing editors, and they know the show intimately because really they're the people who shape the show.
I've learned just hands down that television is created in the editing room. It doesn't matter what the director's vision is necessarily or what the actors think they're doing. It's all about how it's all put together.
Editorial is amazing. They're really the people who I feel like know the show as well as I do and shape the show in ways that sometimes I never imagined, and sometimes I'm thrilled to see, and sometimes it's exactly what I hoped for.
What's really unique about this shot that is what looks like just a standard medium shot is going to reveal the fact that Denny is standing there and that Izzy is in this moment having another hallucination. So that's obviously a very important story point, and it's something that the director wants me to show, and he set up this shot so that we'll use it in the scene this way.
During the rehearsal, when Katie was sitting on, or Izzy was sitting on the gurney, where I happened to be standing was the perfect spot for him to be revealed.
So I'm going to go from the master to medium shot to the next medium shot.
You don't know that.
Denny Duquette is standing right behind you.
I spoke with Herb and said, I want to try and time this so she lies down. There he is behind Bailey, and a collaboration came from this, and it worked. There was discussion when and where we should go and see him further. And Susan came up with the idea of when Izzy said it's a tumor, to see Denny at that point.
It's a tumor. Wait and see.
So now that's another moment. I could put a reaction shot here when she says it's a tumor. We could go to Bailey and see Bailey for her line, but we could actually also see Denny there maybe. So I'm gonna actually try just taking that shot of Denny, which is an interesting reaction, and I'm gonna try moving it to this point and just see what that plays like. I can literally just pick it up out of my sequence using the different tools of the Avid and drop it in. See what that feels like.
It's a tumor. Wait and see.
I have to say I really like that.
She managed to find sort of all of the images that sort of make that scene both heartbreaking and a little bit funny and a tiny bit sort of haunting. When Izzy gets into the machine and you can just see her eyes and she says it's a tumor, it's really heartbreaking. The idea that we had made it 100 episodes, that we'd all come this far, meant so much to me.
Growing from doing the pilot to now, 5 years into it, we've all changed a lot.
We watch them grow, and we watch them mature, and we watch how they make mistakes, but they learn from them.
I was honored that Shonda had faith in me to do it. It will always be special to me.
Today's the day my life begins. All my life I've been just me, just a smart-mouthed kid. Today I become a man. Today I become accountable to someone other than myself. Together, no matter what happens, I'll be ready for everything. To take on life, to take on love, to take on possibility and responsibility. Today, our life begins. And I, for one, can't wait.